I don't know if I agree with that. Oh, hey, you caught me reading the sequel to Ready Player One, aptly titled Ready Player Two. It's pretty exciting so far. I've only gotten through the first third of the book, but already I am pretty excited about this next chapter in the story of Wade, H, Artemis, and the rest of the High Five. Welcome to week 13. No, sorry, week 14. I, as always, am your inimitable host, Mr. Fowler, coming back to you with another week's worth of content. Okay, it's research week, which means we've got a lot of things to talk about. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the fray. Again, I'm happy that you're here and that you've joined me for this week's content. So let's get right into it. All right, I'm up here in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. And let's go ahead and take a look. Oh, a little preview for those of you who are working there. But here we are, week 14. I've got a few things that I want to talk to you about. First and foremost, Kishwaukee College surveys. This is a late semester feedback survey that I wanted to share with you. There's a chance that we may be selected as one of the classes that the college is going to reach out to. So without belaboring the point, essentially, because the college values a learner-focused environment and quality education marked by continuous improvement, we occasionally survey classes for feedback regarding our courses and our instructors. The surveys will run from April 17th through the 24th. So upon this recording, that'll be the Saturday at the end of week 13, okay? And it runs all the way through April 24th. The survey is going to be administered using the online class climate software, and you should receive email reminders containing a unique URL access code for the survey. They can be completed on a computer or a tablet or even your phone. And each of you should complete this survey just once per class, right? So you'll probably get one for my class. You might get another one for a second class. Only complete mine once, okay? We encourage all of you to complete the survey, and the link is sent to you via your Kish email, so you can access it again. Remember, using your class list option, okay? I'll make that smaller so I can, yeah. Well, not that small. There it is, your class email. There it is. Well, here. There it is, your class list email. Okay. This is an important chance for you to share your suggestions and comments on the course, so keep that in mind. All right, today we've got a Zoom lecture, which we're in the midst of. And again, it's research week, which means I'm going to spend a little time with you today just thinking about how to find the best resources to support your unique argument for the paper topic that you're choosing or that you're starting to drill down on, so to speak. And then we'll spend a little bit of time with Ready Player One, just wrapping up chapters 38 and 39, kind of giving an overview of my thoughts about the book and the reading experience in general. So that's going to be it for this week. You won't have to read any more of the book. We'll have finished the entire reading. And then I suggest that you set about an hour of time aside this week for drafting. Specifically, I'm going to suggest that you try to work at a rate of 1 page per day. This is something I mentioned in week 13's review also. Working at a rate of just 1 page a day really can help you parcel out your thought process and make the writing a little bit easier on yourself as a student. So again, try to work at a page rate of just 1 day. So like on Monday, for example, after you've viewed this recording, try to focus on just designing a good introduction. And that's it. Try to make your Monday writing habit just one paragraph, 5 to 8 sentences long, the introduction. The funnel type of shape where you start with the broadest possible, sort of concept, and then you focus down to more and more specific detail. Then on Tuesday, focus on the first body paragraph, setting up your initial claim and trying to find the appropriate evidence and support that you need from your text or from your research that would support your ideas. And then on Wednesday, work on your second claim, developing your support. And then on Thursday, you do the same thing. On Friday, you finalize your support in your argument. Then you give yourself a little bit of time over the weekend, focusing just on the possible rebuttal and or, if you want to think of it as sort of the recursive exercise that you use to define your argument in context of the alternate perspective, right? We call that the rebuttal in many instances, or the refutation as its formal name. Okay? Rebuttal, refutation, whichever you prefer. And then maybe sometime between, take Saturday off if possible. I know some of you work, but from writing, I mean. And then wrap up things on Sunday night, or just push through it into the conclusion of the pyramid. Reiterate that thesis statement, expand to summarize your points, and end with a flourish. Okay, that's the best kind of suggestion I have for ways to work on a piece of writing like this. Now, if you started in week 13, which I suggested, you can see here, that you start writing. Hopefully this won't be too daunting of a task, but even if it is something you haven't launched into just yet, and you're reading this, watching the video on Monday, like I said, if you just do a paragraph a day, you should be finished and ready to turn that in by the due date. Okay. All righty. Again, that due date is April 30th. So I'm going to stop this share for a minute, come back to full screen. If you have questions throughout this week about anything that we're going to do, please don't hesitate to contact me. I should be available all week long. But in reference to full disclosure, I'm going to be traveling a little bit this week. So Monday and Tuesday, regular schedule. Wednesday, I might be traveling. So if you're sending me a message on Wednesday, I might not get to you until later Wednesday. But then the rest of the time, I'll be available just as easily. So Wednesday might be a little bit tricky. That's about it. Okay, let's get into it. You're going to lose the visual of my handsome, wonderful face, but you'll still get the dulcet tones of Mr. Fowler's voice as I am instructing you on how to proceed. Okay. So let's start with that argument essay again. Just as a reminder, the due date for the draft is going to be at the end of the month, April 30th. Now that's going to have to be in sometime before or just after midnight so that I can have that weekend, the 1st and 2nd of May, to grade the papers. Now, based on our other papers or other essays that we've submitted, some of you will turn it in a little bit earlier than that, and that's great. Some of you may turn it in before the end of week 13. I don't know. I'm talking to you from the future at this point. So we will have to wait and see how things progress. The final draft is due on the last day that we have class, last day of the semester, because that's the most time I can offer you. Week 15, we'll have a standard peer review week. And then during finals week, you'll revise and you'll write your grade justification letter, which we're going to talk about soon. Again, it's 50 points for the draft and 50 for the final for a total of 100 points, about 1,250 words, and has to use 4 sources, 2 of which have to come from peer-reviewed journals found in electronic databases offered by the college. So that's what we're going to talk about today, okay? How to find the best possible research. Okay, let's say, for example, that you wanted to write about, let's take this one, because I don't have a specific article that goes along with it, so this is a good topic for our example paper. All of the main characters in Ready Player One had to deal with stereotypes and the ways that they thought they would be perceived because of their appearance or social identity. Define the term stereotype, listing common stereotypes that Wade, Samantha, and H, or Helen, we now name H because we've dropped that bomb, so to speak. Yep, H is a young lady named Helen. And what were the stereotypes they all battled? How do those stereotypes affect these characters? What types of defense mechanisms did they develop to deal with the stereotypes they perceived or that they actually faced? Now, how were these stereotypes eventually overcome? Okay, so in order to do that, we've got to set ourselves up with a research task. So let's go over here to our homepage. So on the what's called My Employee homepage would be your student homepage. Okay, it's the same sort of setup. And you can see here that you have what they call a burger menu. And just hovering over that burger menu gives you a link to student resources. It's the, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's the 6th link down from the top. Okay. So again, you're on your student home menu, you hover over the 3 lines or burger menu, and you drop it down to student resources. And here under student resources, you can count down to about 7 links. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, it's 9 links now. 9 links now. And there you have the library. Now this should all be rehash from the first assignment that required you to use sources, the analysis essay. But if it's not, oops, let's try that again. This refresher should help you a little bit. Okay, can I just go back then? That's really odd. All right, try it again. Okay. So if something like this comes up, you can always use the search menu and search for the Kishwaukee library. Oh, it looks like it's not a problem with the website, but maybe a problem with Mr. Fowler's link. So that's okay. Hold tight, everybody. If you want to talk amongst yourselves, you can talk about Ready Player One and the unique concept that its sequel is now dealing with some of the consequences and questions that powered that drove the book. Okay. Uh-oh. All right. Well, we might have to come back on this one. Temporarily unavailable, but will be soon. Yeah, we're in a maintenance window. Oops. Okay. So unfortunately, I'll have to upload a second video about this, but that's okay. That means in the meantime and in between time, we will move along. And I share my screen, and we're going to talk about the PowerPoint. Well, I'm glad they, at least if they're going to have an outage, they did it on Friday when classes aren't scheduled. So I thought that working ahead might work out, but didn't seem to pan out that way. Okay. So Ready Player One. We're going to go ahead and use this time to wrap up our thoughts about this topic. So chapter 38, level 3, Halliday's Egg. So at long last, after the huge battle for the Oasis, Wade has entered the Sanctum Sanctorum. Remember that to get to this point, he not only had to rally the all of the Gunters to battle the Sixer army and defeat Nolan Sorrento in virtual battle, but then he had to collaborate with his two friends, H and Artemis, to open the Crystal Gate. But even after they defeated the Sixer army, got through the Crystal Gate, there was a surprise waiting for them. The Sixers activated the catalyst and destroyed all of the planet Sithonia, including the 3 avatars of our heroes. But Wade seemed to be floating along just fine. And as it turns out, he had gained an extra life by completing a side quest that took him to the planet Archaeade, in which he completed a perfect Pac-Man game. The result was that he was able to use his extra life to enter the portal, the Crystal Gate. And he was immediately thrust into the video game, The Tempest. Now, with some helpful hints from Artemis, specifically the fact that if you died at a certain point gauge, you were able to earn several extra lives. He was able to beat the high score and move on to the final challenge, which was another final flick sync. This time, Wade's favorite movie, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and he played his way through that film with no problem. In which he emerges, after which he emerges in the Sanctum Sanctorum, the office of Halliday, modeled on the cover of Anorak's Invitation. After a few minutes of experimentation, I discovered that the only computer that would power on was one of the oldest, the IMSAI 8080, the same model of computer Matthew Broderick owned in War Games. And you can see that computer modeled here behind this image of Matthew Broderick. Now, again, all of these computers are arranged in a vague oval or egg shape, including the IMSAI 8080. And so he powers it on, and he has some login issues. Can't quite figure out what the password is. He tries a variety of things, but none of them work until he says, I remembered a line from Ogden Morrow's biography. The opposite sex made Jim extremely nervous. And Kira was the only girl that I ever saw him speak to in a relaxed manner. But even then, it was only in character, as Anorak, during the course of our gaming sessions, and he would only address her as Lucosia, the name of her D&D or Dungeons & Dragons character. Now, Lucosia plays a big part in Ready Player 2, which I previewed at the beginning of this video. So keep that in mind for any of you who might be curious and want to read Ready Player 2 or, listen to the audiobook or what have you. So Lucosia is the code word that he needs to access the computer. And there's another cryptic little trick that he has to do, or he has to work through in order to finally gain that egg. And he says he runs back over to the Atari 2600 section of the oval-shaped room and searched through the giant rack of alphabetized game cartridges until he found Adventure. And Adventure is critical because it's the first video game Easter egg. And so in context of the novel, it's an Easter egg, I guess you could say. He said, I shoved that game into the Atari and turned the system on. Then I hit the reset switch to start the game. It took me only a few minutes to reach the secret room. The secret room didn't contain the name of a computer or key rather, but this secret room contained the name of Warren Robinett, Adventure's original programmer. At the very center of the screen, there was a large white oval egg, though, at its pixelated edge. An egg, the egg. So rather than the real Easter egg, which you can see here, created by Warren Robinett, that's what you find when you are able to find the magic dot in the video game Adventure and you bring it to the original start screen. You see his name. But instead, when you do this complicated maneuver, you find the actual Easter egg, a little pixelated Easter egg encoded into a video game cartridge of Adventure. There I found Anorak's study. I looked around the room. Directly beneath the familiar black dragon painting, there was an ornate crystal pedestal on which rested a gold chalice encrusted with tiny jewels. Its diameter matched that of the silver egg I held in my hands. I placed the silver egg into the chalice and it fit perfectly. In the distance, I heard a fanfare of trumpets and the egg began to glow. So you can see the film realization of that little digitized egg that I showed you at the beginning. Just as a reminder, looks like this. Okay. And Halliday appears. He signs over control of the Oasis to Wade, and our long adventure comes to an end. But he does have a small request before Wade takes over completely. You win, I heard a voice say. I turned and saw that Anorak was standing behind me. The game is over. It's time for you to receive your prize. Your avatar is now immortal and all-powerful. Whatever you want, all you have to do is wish for it. But do me one favor. Try to use your powers only for good. This, meaning Castle Anorak, is yours now. And I call this button the big red button. If you press the big red button, it will shut off the entire Oasis and launch a worm that will delete everything stored on the GSS servers, including all of the Oasis source code. It will shut down the Oasis, in other words, forever. Interesting groundwork to lay near the end of the book. And Halliday concludes with an explanation. I created the Oasis, he says, because I never felt at home in the real world. I didn't know how to connect with people there. I was afraid for all of my life, right up until I knew it was ending. That was when I realized, as terrifying and painful as reality can be, it's also the only place where you can find true happiness, because reality is real. Do you understand? And Wade says, yes, I think I do. Halliday says, good. Don't make the same mistake I did. Don't hide in here forever. And that's a really nice setup and transition to Wade becoming Wade the All-Powerful, the collector of the keys, as you can see here. And the first thing that he does is he resurrects the avatars of H, Artemis, and Shoto. And we also learn in the meantime that Sorrento has been arrested, courtesy of a video clip that plays through Wade's feed. Handheld camera footage showed a team of federal agents leading him across the lobby of the IOI corporate headquarters. He was still wearing his haptic suit and shadowed by a gray-haired man in a suit who I assumed was his own attorney. Sorrento looked more annoyed than anything, as if this were all just some kind of a mild inconvenience. The caption along the bottom of the window read, "Top IOI executive Sorrento accused of murder." So we get to learn the fate of our titular villain in this chapter as well. Which leads us to our final chapter. And of course, a little celebration here between the real world Artemis and Wade, which is echoed in chapter 39. In the aftermath of the victory, He does talk with H and Shoto, and he's a little bit concerned because he has a fear that Sorrento may not do hard time for the crimes that he's committed because he does have really good corporate lawyers. But Ogden Morrow sort of butts into the conversation and says, that may be true, but now so do the High Five. So there's a chance that those lawyers may hold him accountable after all. So Wade looks around at Ogden, at H, Shoto as they celebrate, and he realizes somebody's missing, specifically Artemis. But Ogden again has good news. He said she said she'd wait for you at the center of my hedge maze. So just go up the stairs, out the first door you see. And again, another reference to adventure. You can see here in the Telltale Games cartridge that there is a multiple winding maze guarded by a dragon who holds the central key that you're looking for. The hedge maze covers several acres of land, and the entrance was designed to look like the facade of a castle. You entered the maze through its open gates. And eventually I realized that the layout was identical to that in the game, the labyrinth of that game. And of course, there he finds Artemis, and the two share a short, intimate moment. So at the end, Klein revisits this idea of the parable of the cave. And we learn that the best things in life are free and they're also real. Sometime later, Artemis leaned over and kissed Wade, and Wade says it felt just like all of those songs and poems had promised it would be, like being struck by lightning. It occurred to me then, for the first time in as long as I could remember, I had absolutely no desire to go back into the oasis. Just like the unnamed character from Plato's Parable of the Cave, he realizes that what is outside the cave, what is outside the simulated reality, the quote real unquote world, is what it's all worth. It's what the whole entire experience of human life and living is all about. To find some version of what you would consider to be the truth. And Wade, throughout this very virtual adventure in a space that is not real, learned that some of the most real things in life are some of the easiest ones to overlook in many instances, whether it be true love, whether it be the blessings of freedom, the freedom of thought. Those are the things that really matter. And with this instance, we draw the story of Wade Watts to a conclusion, as heralded by the game over screen. Okay. So I'm going to go back now and see if we can see how this is doing. Okay. Stop share here. Yeah, we're not quite seeing what it is we want here right this second. Okay, so recording, or upon this moment in the recording, I've got a little delay here because of the service window update. So what I'm going to do is end this part of the recording, and then I'll meet you back here for part 2 of this week's lecture, week 14 lecture. Okay, I'll see you in just a few moments.